Dov Hikind, shalom.
Pleasure to be with you.
Former New York State Assemblyman, founder of American Against Anti-Semitism. Thank you for coming to our Jerusalem studio. First of all, a few words about U.S.-Israel relations. You know, in the beginning, the days after October 7th, of course, the visits here to Israel, Israelis were moved. There was a feeling that everything was put aside and Israel and America became to be best friends, even Netanyahu and Biden, despite everything. But now it seems that it's a different ballgame.
Yeah. Those first days, I looked at Biden and the things that he said, and then he came to Israel. I said, wow. But things have changed. It's called elections in America. It's called Michigan. It's called Minnesota. It's about politics, and that's a very dangerous game to play when the people of Israel are faced with these challenges. Countries, neighbors who have one goal. This is real. For Israel, this is real. Their goal is to destroy the Jewish people here in Israel, period. So, Biden has to play politics. He wants to win the election. I get that. But you can't do it on the back of the Jewish people.
The question is if it's only politics, or is something really happening to the Democratic Party? Because we saw what the statements we heard from Schumer. It's not only about politics. It's really coming from their gut feeling, from their responses, from their ideas, from their agendas.
Well, politics is a huge part of it, but there's no question about it. The Democratic Party, the people who really dictate the direction of the Democratic Party are the radicals in the Democratic Party, and there are quite a few of them. I mean, you're talking about possibly dozens individuals, members of Congress. We all know the names Tlaib, Omar, AOC,
Squad.
But there are many others, the Squad. But the Squad has more and more members. Those individuals really are the enemies of the Jewish people, the enemies of the state of Israel. So politics is a huge part of it as far as Biden is concerned, as far as Schumer is concerned. But with regard to the Democratic Party is not healthy for the Jewish people at this time. I don't tell people change to becoming a Republican if you want to be a Democrat. I'm realistic. I did it, I did it, but you don't have to do it. But more than ever, you cannot vote for the Democratic Party, not just for president, but also for the House. Just imagine if the Democrats win the House of Representatives, AOC will be in charge of the Foreign Affairs Committee. That is not a joke. That is serious.
But how do you relate? Let's go back to Schumer. He defined himself as Shomer Israel, the guardian of Israel. How do you relate, really? You related to what he said, to that direction.
I know Schumer quite well. For a single moment, if I could believe that Schumer meant it, he really meant what he said. He really cares. He cares about the Jewish people. That's what he said. He said this on the floor of the United States Senate, that I am the Shomer Yisrael. That's what the name Schumer means. But it was pure, unadulterated politics. Schumer, when it comes to anti-Semitism, as an example, out of control in the United States for the past 4 or 5 years. Schumer has been missing in action. You don't see him, you don't find him. Schumer, what he did was to stab Israel in the back, and it was purely unadulterated politics. People like Bernie Sanders, who I detest. He also says, I'm a Jew. I love how these people use their Jewishness when it fits their purpose. You wouldn't know there was anything Jewish about them, but when it fits their purpose, they're Jews. Schumer is a political animal. I know him well. He would sell his mother out for his political agenda, and that agenda was Biden, plain and simple. It was all about the elections. Please, let no one think for a second that Schumer really meant it lishma. He cares about the state of Israel and the people of Israel. Trust me, he may care, but this was pure, unadulterated politics.
And as we mentioned, elections, and as you said, you moved from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, and we know who you'll be voting for. But you feel that really it's important and crucial regarding Israel, who goes into the White House after the elections?
Look, there's no question about that. Then again, we as Jews, need to learn the lessons of history, that when we put our faith in an individual, that person is going to be the Mashiach, that Trump will be the Mashiach. Trump is not the Mashiach. He was never the Mashiach, and he will not be the Mashiach. And I'm nervous about him. But if you look at the two candidates, what choice do you have? God, between the two of them, one who can't walk a straight line and is busy undermining Israel, and the other one who, did a great job. By the way, as president in his first term, best friend that Israel ever had in the White House. No question about that. But I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about Trump. Some of the things that he's even said recently in interviews here in Israel with Israel Hayom. So, but you got to look. We have to make a choice. There's no one else. There are third-party candidates, but they're not going anywhere. So, honestly, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Trump.
And as we mentioned, you're the founder and head of Americans Against Anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, and as you're saying, leaders are missing in action.
What leaders? What leaders? What are you talking? Leaders tell me there are a lot of people with titles. There are a lot of Jewish organizations. We have more Jewish organizations than anyone can count. They spend a lot of money, but where are they? What are they doing? After October 7th, the world changed. Anti-Semitism was out of control before October 7th, okay? But since then, literally every single day, the Jewish communities in America are under attack. Is anybody aware of a plan on the part of any Jewish group, be it Aguda, be it the ADL, be it all the other organizations? What's the plan? How are you going to deal with it? Our enemies, the pro-Hamas people in America are all over the place. They are organized. Every single day, they are doing something out there. They're influencing the American people. There's no question about it. Where are we? We are sleeping. We are asleep. We're in trouble. A local paper in New York asked me. They did a thing, asking people who do you look at as the leader in America, the person that you respect. There's someone, and I said, you're not going to print what I'm going to tell you. I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I couldn't think of a name. That's pretty sad. And again, I don't want to be misunderstood. We have a lot of people filled with Torah, a lot of Gedolim, but leaders to direct the people in terms of how do we handle what's going on today. We had a real estate, these real estate affairs are going on all over America. They're wonderful. I went to them. They're great. They're wonderful. People should go to them. But in Brooklyn, New York, they canceled it, going to the rabbis and lying to them, saying the police couldn't protect the community, which was a lie. It was canceled. And guess what? I saw all the publicity from the Hamas supporters in America that they got the Jews to back down. It empowers them. What a sad commentary. How embarrassing. How do you think Hashem feels about this? How do you think Hashem feels that when we, the Jewish people, I know that, a lot of communities in America, especially the Haredi, we're in gullus, we're in exile, we got to be quiet. But you know what? We don't have to be stepped on. There are consequences when we do not do certain things, when we don't stand up. You got to be a proud Jew. You got to be strong. You got to be careful and you got to be smart.
Are you encountering more and more cases where people are afraid to walk with their kippot, to be Jewish?
That happened even before October 7th. Now, forget it. Now people are afraid to walk streets in America. By the way, within the Jewish community even, taking off a Star of David, anything identifying you. Women who wear Star of David, don't do that. I've had people at my Shabbos table who told me when they go into Manhattan, they remove their yarmulke. This is America. This is the United States of America. People taking off their yarmulke.
But you're seeking leadership. The question is, if the hate is there, and the hate's being fueled what's happening here in Israel, maybe you can't fight it. Maybe you just have to protect yourselves.
Look, there are people who are going to hate regardless. They don't want to know the facts. Don't confuse me with the facts. But there are a lot of people in America. They watch the CNNs and so on, and they see these terrible pictures. There is an answer. Hasbara emanating from this country is horrible. For all my life, that's all I've heard about Hasbara in terms of Israel, how bad it is. Now more than ever, we need it. We don't have to be apologetic to anyone. There's no reason. The way Israel behaves is exemplary. No one does what Israel does. Yes, there are casualties, people dying in Gaza. Okay, I don't celebrate that. That's not a good thing. But where do you put the blame? And that has not been done in the proper way to say, look, we watch hospitals, we watch schools, we watch mosques, and so on and so forth, that the civilian population of Gaza is being used as shields. Not enough has been done. Hey, we're the Jewish people. We're smart. We got the best minds in the world. We can't come up with a strategy to address what's going on.
So it's also about fighting against the lies. It's also about telling the stories. But it's also about radical Islam elements coming into America, into New York. And you're seeing that as well, right?
Absolutely. All over the United States and all over Europe. You want to demonstrate for what you call Palestine, people who want to do that, fine. America, you can do that. But when you go into the streets by the thousands and you celebrate Hamas and you applaud what they did on October 7th, I was there in Kfar Aza a few days after what happened. I walked through houses. I avoided the blood on the floor, the dried blood on the floor. I was told house by house what happened to young girls in those homes and what happened to the parents while their daughters were being raped. So I know, I was there. Yeah, there are radicals and people who, by the way, a new thing that's happening in America is denying that it even happened on October 7th. And the question of whether Israel should do a lot more with regard to sharing with the world, not just with thousands of leaders, but finding a way to share with the average American who really cares, to share with them. Let me show you what they did to our daughters and our mothers and our children and our babies. More needs to be done, and it's not being done at the present time.
Despite everything, I'd like to end on a positive note, and I believe if I ask you the next question, you'll answer with something that will be a positive note about the strength that you receive when you come here. This is not your first time here since October 7th. The feeling of togetherness, the feeling of strength.
The people of Israel are amazing. The real Jewish leaders and the great Jews of the world, I have to say, are almost all here in Israel. Every soldier is a leader. Every soldier represents the Jewish people. Let me tell you, I come here and I hope that I can stay here forever. But being here and walking the streets and talking to people, I am getting chizuk from the people of Israel because it can be very depressing what's going on in the world. But the people of Israel, they're beautiful, they're amazing. And let me tell you, with all the challenges and the difficulties, we are the Jewish people. And we should never forget that God is part of the equation. When you figure out, okay, we got this, we got F-35s, we got F-50. Remember, it's difficult, it's tough. We can't figure out the thing that happened on October 7th. How could that happen? But at the end of the day, we've got HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we've got ourselves, and we need to be united. Whatever conflicts exist in Israel, please put it off till after the war, for God's sake, because the people that celebrate any conflict in Israel, guess who they are? The people in Hamas. They love it.
Okay, Dov Hikind, with those important words, we'll end. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yoni, thank you for having me.